In our second case, we have a situation where we had a lab of computers in a very busy school, which was also taking care of a one-to-one implementation. The IT department, as is often the case, was incredibly ill-staffed to handle both the maintenance required for the summer as well as handling this huge implementation of a one-to-one rollout. So you have poorly staffed personnel. Well, what happens? Suddenly they cut corners. They have to in order to get everything done. So it was acceptable practice to have a single network password on all lab computers. There was no formal registration of devices, meaning anybody could bring anything and get it onto the network as long as they knew the password for the Wi-Fi. There's no filtering of websites, so anything could be accessed by any computer. Well, what happened in this situation is a few of the lab computers were used. They got infected with viruses, and those viruses installed spam bots. What that is that means that those computers not only were sending out spam 24/7, but they also were infecting each other. Within a matter of days, all 100 plus lab computers were infected. All 100 plus of these machines were sending out spam, and as a result, 10 billion spams were sent in a matter of 5 days. What this did was it crippled their network. They thought the one-to-one was failing because the kids were using too much internet. They weren't. It had nothing to do with that. It had to do with the fact that they skipped maintenance during the summer. They had a poor security plan, an ill-designed passwords policy, and there was simply too much for them to do. They ended up having to bring in consultants to clean up the mess at great expense, and worse yet, the one-to-one implementation didn't get implemented for weeks after the school year began. So in this situation, we have a few things that could have been done to really mitigate it. First of all, filtering and blocking of non-authorized websites. This seems like common sense, especially in a school environment, which are governed by CIPA, which requires content filtering, but that filtering needs to work. That will keep you out of a lot of the bad places, not everything. So prioritization. Well, we also need to have things such as security passwords that aren't the same. You can't have 100 computers with one password. Once one machine is infected, they're all going to be infected. Traffic monitoring. This organization didn't have any monitoring, so they didn't know why the internet was so slow. If they had the monitoring in place, a very simple report could have been run. They could have very easily identified which machines were using the traffic on which day, and they would have seen a very obvious chart showing this spike in internet traffic. If they had any real detail to that report, they could also see that all that traffic was email traffic, which is obviously not appropriate, not a normal situation. As far as continuous diagnostics and mitigation, a regular auditing of their systems and their security and a regular monitoring, automated monitoring of their network would have sent up red flags everywhere. This is not difficult traffic to identify, and it would have very easily been seen. Automation with labs in particular, you can easily freeze these labs, meaning once you set the configuration, you use a program such as Deep Freeze or Clean Slate to lock it down so that no changes can be made. And after the user is done, when they log off, all of their settings, changes, everything are restored to the original setup, therefore eliminating any infection if one managed to sneak in.